let's just come out and say it. Many in the media have a crush on Elizabeth Warren. They are just swooning over the notion that she might, just might, become Hillary Clinton's running mate. Now, I understand the surface appeal because journalists like to cover politicians who are good copy, who are exciting. And when Elizabeth Warren gets up on the stump and she starts slashing away at Donald Trump as a thin-skinned, money-grubbing fraud, it makes for good headlines. And I think there's a certain appeal in the way she sort of does her populism that maybe, just maybe, some people in the press might agree with. Now, it would be hard to avoid the conclusion that the senator from Massachusetts is campaigning for the VP slot. You just look at the last few days. She went out there and endorsed Hillary Clinton on Rachel Maddow's MSNBC show. She gave an anti-Trump, pro-Hillary speech that was carried live by MSNBC and by CNN. And then on Friday morning, she goes to Hillary's house to pay respects, maybe a little female bonding for the sisterhood. And who knows whether talk of running together comes up or not. But when you take a harder look at it, there are problems. Well, first, on the plus side, she'd be a very snarling attack dog against Donald Trump. She does seem to have the ability to get under his skin, and they fight these Twitter wars. She also is a nationally known figure. I happen to think that picking some backbench lawmaker or little-known governor who's never been in the searing national media spotlight is not the way to go, because that person hasn't been vetted and things can go wrong. On the other hand, and then there's also the business about, well, on the other hand, Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren don't know each other very well, and people who know Clinton say she would be more comfortable with somebody she has more of a relationship with, but I think they could get to know each other better. That could be set aside. There's a little bit of concern you'd be giving up a Senate seat in Massachusetts. A Republican governor would anoint at least a temporary replacement. But here's the thing that all too few people talk about. A few sophisticated commentators understand this, which is Hillary Clinton is running on her experience. Donald Trump has no experience. He's never been in government. Hillary Clinton's former Secretary of State. She's been in the Situation Room during world crises and all of that. If she picks a first-term senator without a lot of experience, who doesn't have any legislative achievements to her name, then she undercuts that argument. And people inevitably will ask, if Elizabeth Warren is elected along with a then 70-year-old Hillary Clinton, and something happens, is she prepared to be commander-in-chief, to be a heartbeat away from the presidency? And I think that's a tougher sell. Don't take my word for it. The former Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, Ed Rendell, who is now an MSNBC contributor, says he loves Elizabeth Warren, she's great, blah, 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 but she has no foreign affairs experience and is not prepared to be president, even though it was an interesting moment at the end of the somewhat sympathetic Rachel Maddow interview. Maddow mentioned the Rendell criticism, asked Elizabeth Warren, do you believe that you would be prepared to step into the presidency? And Elizabeth gave a pretty short answer. She said, yes, I do. So I do think that if this were to happen, and there's also the question of, two women on the ticket. I don't know that it brings her anything. It doesn't bring Hillary Clinton a state, because if she doesn't win Massachusetts, she may as well pack it in. And for those Americans, and there are some, according to polls, who may be a little bit uneasy with the idea of a female commander-in-chief, to have another woman on the ticket, I don't know. Maybe it's a wash. But the main thing is this, yes, you could pick a former governor like Tim Kaine, or you could pick another senator like Sherrod Brown. But the fact is that people are going to ask, once this election is made and once all the cheering dies down, what is her position on Iran or Iraq or ISIS? Does she have enough knowledge to step in as commander-in-chief if she needed to be? And that is going to be a much more difficult national debate if indeed this happens. And maybe this whole thing is just a boomlet created by a cheering squad and the press loving to, play the sweepstakes game. We will see whether Elizabeth Warren turns out to be a real player in the sweepstakes game, and whether or not this debate that I'm talking about ends up taking place.